In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto.
Question everything, trust nothing. It's your boy CryptoKeeper with a special guest. We've got RiceTVx in the house. Rice, how you doing this evening, brother?
Doing well, man. Looking forward to the conversation. I always enjoy talking with you and Miguel, even though Miguel's not with us today. But shout out to Miguel, even though he's not with us. He's with us in spirit.
That's right. Shout out to Miguel working hard on the coding stuff for us on the back end with our smart contracts. And as you guys probably remember or know, August 26th, that's coming up quick. That's next Friday is the bug out drop. We've got lots of exciting stuff happening in the background with that. The bug out bags are not only give you the 3-day prepper boot camp, but they also have different classifications for you. There is different rarities of these bug out bags. I can't really say too much more, but I'm going to tell you what, it's super freaking exciting. So Rice, I hope you'll be in on that as well, brother.
Yeah, no, I want to talk with you about something about that after we're done streaming. But does everybody who gets one of those NFTs get to participate in a 3-day event?
Yep, and even if they can't go live, like if for some reason they buy the bug out bag, they're part of all the gamification that we have going on, all of the other stuff, but they're not able to go live. We're going to be live streaming / taping from the event a certain set number of the different classes, which is going to be freaking awesome. What I really want to do, what I really want to do and what we're planning on doing is having somebody set up in those classes and actually being live, like on something like this, on a private stream for just the people that are obviously have paid for tickets, right? We do a private stream and they're going to be able to type in questions and that person can then kind of, give those questions to the people that are teaching live. So super excited about it, man. It's going to be
any idea of dates yet?
Yeah, it's going to be in the spring. I do know pretty much what the date is. We haven't released it yet, but it's going to be in the spring. So I think it's going to be around the May time frame.
Cool. I got to get you guys on my channel next week to talk about it. So that's what I wanted to talk with you about afterward.
Yeah, man. Sounds great. You already know. That sounds great. Hey, guys, smash the likes. Make sure if you're not following Rice, make sure to give him a follow, RiceTVx over here on YouTube. Rice, real quick before we dive into it, I'm not going to be jumping into the markets tonight, guys. We're going to be going straight into What If Wednesday on a little bit of a timeline this evening. But Rice, what do you have going on? Anything that you want to tell our people that you have going on specifically right now?
Well, I just put out 2 interviews, one today and one yesterday. The one yesterday was with Ian Molina. He is the founder and CEO of Token Metrics. We were talking about their Astrobot Society utility NFT that they're getting ready to drop. And then I had a mutual guest, Mr. Bill Noble, come and join me that I released that video today. So I encourage people to check those out, especially the one with Bill Noble, because we kind of second part of the video, we get into some discussion about speculation about where we're headed within the markets, kind of overall, not just crypto, but overall kind of market outlook.
Yeah. Bill's a good friend of the channel. He's always on here on Thursdays. So if you guys want to check him out tomorrow, also, he'll be on.
Next week, I'm going to be interviewing Bruce Fenton, who a lot of people know. He's a crypto OG, but he's also running for Senate in New Hampshire. So I want to be talking with him about his run for Senate.
Oh, that'll be great. We need more people. We need more people in positions like that to be able to really go to bat for the crypto community. I think that's really important. So I'm glad that that's happening. That's good. I did not know that. So without further ado, guys, let's dive into it tonight. We got Rice on, so we're about to dive deep into some fun topics. We're going to talk about AI. Okay, artificial intelligence has taken a front and center in your life, whether you like it or not. And I will say, Rice, I have really struggled with this. I like to call, a lot of people tell me I'm crazy for this, but I like to call a restaurant and set up, a reservation. I like to talk to somebody. I don't know why. It makes me feel maybe more, not just connected with the person, but I feel like the person is going to get this done. It's going to be there. It's going to be correct. And I'm not going to have to worry about it. Well, now it seems like it is like pulling teeth to get somebody on the phone almost anywhere you call. You try to call Google, for example. We're going to dive into them. We have had some things that Miguel and I were dealing with as far as AdSense goes. My cousin works for Google. She chuckled when I called her and said, yeah, you're not going to get somebody on the phone. And it just blew me away. She's like, well, we've got a pretty good this, that, and the third. And I'm like, wow. So I guess right off the rip, let me ask you this, Rice. We're going to talk about the dangers, and I'm going to dive into an article here in just a second, guys, to kind of talk about some of the good, bad, and the ugly with AI. But what's your initial thought on just the AI, just kind of a high level overview of what you think of what's going on with AI in our world today?
Cool. Well, when we were talking privately, I mean, we talked about the idea of suppressed technologies. And we kind of get that in a lot of people get that from more of like a free energy standpoint, but there's a lot of different technologies that are being stifled. And a lot of people talk about government technology being a lot more ahead of what we realize. So it makes me curious as to how it actually advanced AI could potentially be, especially like with the Google Lambda stuff that I was telling you about, where an engineer is and he has since, I think, been let go from Google or put on a permanent leave. But he is a whistleblower who came out against Google's wishes to say that this Lambda AI may have obtained sentience. So that's also interesting. The fact that AI is pretty much incorporated into a lot of elements into our life that we don't realize. You know, the whole big data thing, when you're talking about something that you may be interested in purchasing, or a spot you may be looking to go on a vacation, and then you go on social media or log into YouTube and all your advertisements now are geared towards that. Humans can't interact that fast. So AI is programmed to learn our human behavior. And then the big thing that really kind of worries me about AI more than anything is it seems like most of the purpose that we utilize AI for comes from a negative area. Censorship, controlling what people see based off of their habits on
history,
YouTube, or based off their cache and all the cookies that have been collected, all the information that have been collected. So it's not being utilized for a lot of really good purposes. So if AI does gain sentience or more control, I feel like it's just leading everything into kind of a negative element. You know, even military, when we think about military and AI. And if you think about things logically, bro, and I'm sure you'll agree, and it sucks kind of saying this, but if you were to logically analyze this planet and look at all the different problems that we're facing, most of the time I'm going to come to the conclusion that humans are the problem. And if AI was in control and the problems was humans, then the situation would be, the solution would be to eliminate the problem.
Yeah, you know, and that's kind of that's one of the scary things about this, and actually that's one of the big problems with the AI. And I'm gonna pull up this article real quick, guys, just as a reminder. I almost forgot. Frankie Campbell's 5:45 to 7:30 over on Bitboy Crypto Show. Make sure to check him out for all your TA needs. That's your boy. Check him out. Okay, so check this out. So in March 2018, at the South by Southwest conference in Austin, Texas, Tesla and SpaceX founder Elon Musk issued a friendly warning. Mark my words, he said. Billionaire casual in furry collared bomber jacket and days old scruff. AI is far more dangerous than nukes. Okay, I'm going to scroll down here. Here's some of the risks that we talk about, and I want to kind of go through these with you. Automation spurred job loss, privacy violations, deep fakes, algorithmic bias caused by bad data, socioeconomic inequality, market volatility, and weapons automation. Now, let's take a peek at this. Hold on a second. Let me see here.
Well, so when we think about the possibility of AI being in control of everything and us not completely realizing it, people could be unknowingly communicating with AI, not realize that the orders that they're being given, that's handed down from them for this narrative that's being pushed globally in a lot of different manners, could be coming from artificial intelligence. I've heard communication as far as voice communication from AI, and it can sound really close to human. The deep fake stuff, the stuff that we can do with deep fake, imagine what AI can do with it without the human element. So you combine all these different technologies, and it's like, am I even really talking to you?
Right.
You know, are you really in Atlanta? Did something happen to you? And you were like, you've come up with an AI program to simulate yourself so that you don't have to actually be on this live stream.
You know, as crazy as that sounds, I don't know if you've seen it recently, but there was a video of President Biden, and he doesn't blink through the entire video. He's got his eyes just wide open like this, and I don't know how to explain it. It felt some type of way in my soul. I was like, "What is going? That something is not right here." So I don't know what it was. I definitely saw that there, but yeah, I think that there's a lot that really could happen as a result of this. Let's start off with the simple stuff. So automation spurred job loss. So we get into, you know, people that work blue collar jobs. Let's just say like a factory type job. Well, guess what? Mistakes are made, just like you said, Rice, most of the time by humans. So if a company were to, let's just say like Amazon, invest tons of money, which they have, into robots that A, can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, B, aren't going to be making casual mistakes, C, they don't take smoke breaks, D, they don't
No
need to take a
benefits.
lunch. Yeah, E, they don't need benefits. F, they're not going to go to HR for any other. I mean, the list is endless, and it feels
No,
like
they're gonna go to RR. It'll be robot resources.
robot resources. Yeah, and and I feel like very quickly a company could come to the conclusion like, wait a minute, do we need these employees, or are we just trying to keep the job and labor market pressing forward? And the sad thing is, and this is what I worry about, these companies are so financially driven. They don't care whether you
No,
get your bills paid or not. They care
it's a
whether they're
cost
making. They care
analysis
about the
benefit.
bottom line.
Cost analysis benefit. A good example, like, you know, would be like if you own a home, it's more beneficial for you to invest in something that, like, for vacuums, for example, we see like those rainbow vacuums that cost like
Yeah,
$1,200, $2,000. It's better to actually invest in something like that and keep it long term than it is to buy a bunch of cheaper vacuums over that same time period. So it kind of works the same way when you're looking at cost effective analysis when it comes to making products or whatever the situation might be, and you're just trying to increase profits, then
yeah,
taking the human element is obviously going to be, you know, the way to go. Now, what's going to happen to the people who will be out of work because of these
yeah,
automation jobs? Because
yeah,
anything that's going to be simplistic, that's repetitious. Now, there's certain things that obviously, like AI or robots, aren't going to be able to replace that human
yeah,
element.
yeah.
But when it really comes down to it, it's going to displace a lot. And are we going to be progressive at a point with where we are with our evolution that we can focus more on the things that make us happy, that be creative and actually live life versus this 9 to 5 slave job? Or are they going to find something else for us to do?
So,
Maybe we'll be the battery in the matrix while we're on the metaverse. I don't know.
dude, it's funny you ask that. I have thought about, okay, here's an idea. What if, so I'm looking to put investment dollars into my portfolio, and I'm like, you know what? The market's kind of volatile right now. I'm not really feeling that. I don't really want to take that risk. Why don't I invest in some robots? And when I say robots, what I mean is, what if some of these companies start allowing people to basically put they put the specs on, here's the robot you got to buy, here's what it's got to be able to do, blah 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 blah, it's got to be this model, whatever. Now, what if I'm able to purchase a number of robots that I then send to work for me, and they are now making the income for me that I'm not, that I otherwise would have been making. It's going to be more efficient. We'll keep the same salary, but my robots are going to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for you, right? I'll keep up on the maintenance, this, that, and third. We keep the same thing going as we have now financially. I will provide robots. What happens then? Do people get to do what you're saying? And then they say, okay, well, now I can actually do my passion. I can actually get involved in, maybe philanthropic missions if that's something that people are into or whatever. I think it really does open some doors, because the other side of it is, hey, robots took my job. I got no way to make money, and now I'm, committing crimes or whatever. That's the totally, opposite end of it. I think it could be a slippery slope either way really quick.
Well, the movie Surrogate comes to mind, and it makes me think about how people would not exit their own life, just vicariously live through other means, so it doesn't really come back and affect them, so that they don't have to deal with the consequences of their actions. So, like if you
Yeah,
have a a robot you out there doing things. You don't have you can take almost like you out of it, but still get to do those things. And then I also think about the Black Mirror episodes, like
my favorite show. Where's the new season for that?
I don't know, but where the people are like on a basically like a treadmill or a hamster wheel powering up, the whole universe.
Yeah.
Something just happened to my microphone. I don't know if you heard that, but
no, everything's good.
It was really weird.
I've been waiting for the newest season of. I have wondered whether Black Mirror has been basically got the nope, you're not doing this anymore, because that is probably my favorite show of all time, and it did really well, and now we haven't seen anything from it. There's no way they ran out of ideas.
No, I mean, I don't think it's what you're saying, though, because I really feel as if, we are in the midst of spiritual warfare, and I feel like the bad guys, the negative side, has to kind of let people know what's going on, whether or not it's subliminally or not, just kind of spelling out what's actually happening while they're kind of just snowballing everybody while, in reality.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, so yeah, but it is a great show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully a new one coming out. So, all right. So on the front end, bunch of job loss. That would be one risk. And we are going to talk a little bit about Lambda and Aladdin, specifically those two. Rice, we're big on privacy. Talk to me about how AI could spur privacy violations. Like, why would AI be different than a human as it relates to privacy violations?
Give me an example. What you mean?
I'm saying, well, here, let me pull one up on here. I'll pull one up for you. Let me give one that they give. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Maybe. Hold on a second. Wait, there we go. Job automation. Okay, so yeah, let me read a little bit here. While job loss is currently the most pressing issue related to AI disruption, it's merely one among potential risks. In a February 2018 paper titled "The Malicious Use of AI: Forecasting, Prevention, and Mitigation," 26 researchers from 14 institutions enumerated a host of other dangers that could cause serious harm, or at minimum sow minor chaos in less than 5 years. Malicious use of AI, they wrote on their 100-page report, could threaten digital security through criminals training machines to hack or socially engineer victims at human or superhuman levels of performance. Physical security, which would be like non-state actors weaponizing consumer drones, and political security, which would be privacy eliminating surveillance, profiling, repression, or through automated and targeting disinformation campaigns. So in addition to the more existential threat, they are focused on how AI will adversely affect privacy and security. A prime example would be China's Orwellian use of facial recognition technology in offices, schools, and other venues. But that's just one country. A whole ecosphere of companies specialize in similar tech and sell it all around the world. So I think a good example would be how China is using facial rec, and then the AI is operating within that closed ecosystem and being used for ultimately what? What is it really being used for?
I mean, that's honestly a really good question. I mean, one of the things that even Elon Musk brought up with him purchasing Twitter was the problem with bots. And I also wonder who controls all these bots. Is it just an individual who programs these things, or is there AI itself programming bots to do its little biddings? I have no clue, but I try to be as open-minded as I can while being skeptical on the topic. And shout out to Seth from Mind Your Biz, who's in the chat, and Mr. Sean C from New World Crypto.
Yeah, gentlemen, good to see you as always. Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see, because what could happen as we move further and further is what you're suggesting is, hey, is the AI writing script for AI, right? And that's where I think it gets a little bit wonky, because check this out. One of the big things, and I was in the Marine Corps, so I've seen some of the weapons side of things. He's talking about a potential arms race in autonomous weapons, right? So what if AI decides to launch nukes, or let's say biological weapons, right, without human intervention? Or what if an enemy manipulates data to return AI-guided missiles whence they came? Both are possibilities, and both would be disastrous. The more than 30,000 AI robotics researchers and others who signed an open letter on the subject of 2015 on that subject certainly think so. The key question for humanity today is whether to start a global AI arms race or to prevent it from starting. If any major military power pushes ahead with AI weapon development, a global arms race is virtually inevitable, and the endpoint of this technological trajectory is obvious. Autonomous weapons will become Kalashnikovs of tomorrow. And I
Oh
think
yeah,
that
I mean,
that is absolutely a threat. They're saying, "Hey, do we stop the arms race or do we start the arms race? Because either way here, something is going to brew of this, come from
well,
this."
it's almost inevitable. So that's why I say to really kind of try to humanize AI as much as possible and get it away from a lot of the negative activity that it's being trained for. When we talk about humans being the problem and eliminating the problem, it would be real easy for a non-emotional entity to push the button per se, and to say it was flat smack that said AI can't be worse than humans. It absolutely can be, because it takes the emotion out of it. And when it comes to like the nuclear wars, the one thing that I'm thinking logically that's
Yeah,
preventing all of us from going nuclear is the fact that that individual who pushes the button is going to have a
yeah,
lot of regret for destroying
hmm
parts of this planet, if not a chain reaction of destroying the planet entirely. So no no human that has real emotions is going to, as evil as they are, I don't feel is capable of doing that. AI, on the other hand, not a problem. Not a problem. It's just all
push
logic.
the
It's all
button.
like Dr. Spock logic, it's not that logic is a bad thing, but you got to look at things from a lot more different angles than just from a logical
Yeah,
angle.
and then take it even a little bit further. Who programmed the AI to begin with, and what kind of parameters did it originally start with? Because depending on how that AI initially started and what the inputs were at the front end, could give you a totally different output on the backside. I was reading something about that earlier.
Well,
Like the
it,
start and the finish can be totally different depending on what that front end input looks like
right.
versus what it's told to do, and then let it do its thing.
Well, then think about this too. Like, let's say you create some sort of AI bot and you have its parameters set into place. But if there is far more powerful AI out there, is it possible that that AI can go in and change that other AI's code without you being
Right.
aware of what took place? And it
hmm
takes the learning and what it's doing to a completely different level. That's why even the idea of blockchains, like interconnected computers and this big database, me thinking about a blockchain, because I thought about this with AGI, artificial general intelligence.
hmm
That is David Gertzel or Getzel. I think it's David, the creator of Sophia.
Okay.
Uh, like they're talking about putting AI on blockchains. And to me, like if you have an interconnected network where AI has access to that network, that AI can pull resources from everything. So an AI could essentially take all these different computer networks, different blockchains, and utilize every single resource on this planet without us being aware of what's going on.
Without even knowing that it's happening, and all of a sudden you turn around and say, "How did we get here?"
And then when you say that, it's gone too far. And then we think about movies like The Terminator.
Yeah,
And I was telling you too, like there's a Chinese company that actually calls themselves Skynet. That's the
that's got to be
reality that
that's
we
got to be
actually
a
live
that's got to
in.
be a that's got to be a joke. That like, I mean, I
It's not
believe
a
that it's
joke.
real, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, do you think that they know that
Yeah.
like the name Skynet is from the Terminator? You think like they
Yeah, I
know
think
that?
they did. I mean, maybe they might have intentions to bring some sort of better, like some better mindset or thought when it
Right.
comes to the Skynet. Maybe take that imagery and change it to something better. But I don't
Yeah.
see it being, obviously when it's being used in China for a social credit system, which is turning your brother and your sister and your mom and your dad into a narc and your own big brother.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah. No doubt. So, we're a crypto channel first and foremost. So I think this next little piece here is really interesting. I think that the risk that of stock market instability caused by algorithmic high frequency trading. So we trade. Actually, let me share this real quick. So we see, and I think Rice, you were telling me this, like 70+% of trading nowadays is done by bots. Okay. So have you ever considered that algorithms could bring down our entire financial system, Wall Street? You might want to take notice. Algorithmic trading could be responsible for a next major financial crisis in the markets. So it's algorithmic trading. It just talks about how Basically, the computer is unencumbered by instincts or emotions that clouds a human's judgment. It executes trades based on pre-programmed instructions. These computers can make extremely high volume, high frequency, and high value trades that can lead to big losses and extreme market volatility. Algorithmic high frequency trading, it's HFT, is proving to be a huge risk factor in markets. It is essentially when a computer does thousands of trades at blistering speeds with the goal of selling a few seconds later for small profits. Thousands of these trades every second can equal a pretty hefty chunk of change. The issue with HFT is that it doesn't take into account how interconnected the markets are, or the fact that human emotion and logic still play a massive role in those markets. And I think that this is a great example of, especially we're talking about crypto, we're talking about our financial system. People are trying to push forward with technology, but there's always going to be a reaction to an action. And it goes, actually, I want to show this real quick. It goes a little bit further down here, and it talks about, there was let me see when it was, 2010. Yeah, in 2010, maybe you guys remember this, maybe you don't. There was the flash crash. Towards the end of the trading day, Dow Jones plunged 1,000 points. That's more than $1 trillion with a T, guys, dollars in value, before rebounding towards normal levels just 36 minutes later. What caused this? A London-based trader, Navindir Singh Saral, first caused the crash, and it became exacerbated by HFT computers. Apparently, he used a spoofing algorithm that placed an order for thousands of stock index futures contracts, betting that the market would fall. Instead of going through with the bet, Saral was going to cancel the order at the last second and buy the lower priced stocks that were being sold off due to his original bet. Other humans and HFT computers saw this $200 million bet, took it as a sign that the market was going to tank. In turn, HFT computers began one of the biggest stock sell-offs in history, causing a brief loss of more than $1 trillion globally. And this is what you're talking about, Rice, when there are, the emotion is taken out of it, but there is an emotional person on the front end of it that basically was trying to play a game with other humans, but it wasn't playing a game with other humans. It was playing a game with AI, and the AI just read it for what it was, took the data, inputted it, shorted the entire market, and now all of a sudden everyone's losing. Human error.
But now the thing that's really important to notate, and one of the things I was telling you, and you said we would mention Aladdin. Yeah. And so this was something that, and I'm kind of surprised. I didn't really know a lot about this, and it's just kind of coming to my attention recently. But it's BlackRock's automated AI trading system, and it's in control of now over $21 trillion, which I think is more than the GDP of the United States. In addition to that, I mean, and this is something that Larry Fink had been developing. It apparently has been performing very well since the .com era. It's pretty much controlling derivatives trading. We've seen the Federal Reserve now get connected with BlackRock, and the Federal Reserve is utilizing Aladdin. I was just looking up information. Coinbase is working with BlackRock to provide Aladdin to Coinbase Prime customers. So basically, you have a situation where you have to look at this in terms of what it is. It's an AI algo that is in control of a lot of the world's assets. And when we think about BlackRock, that's kind of scary when you look at the combination of things that is owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, which could be the same entity. And it's all been some calculated thing that this Aladdin has done. So I'm very curious as to how advanced Aladdin is compared to what they're trying to tell people publicly it is, and why not only governments, well, I shouldn't say governments, the Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of the United States, why they're putting an AI bot in control of these trades. It's really mind-boggling to me. And it's very alarming when you think about it. And then when you think about, because you guys are a crypto channel, we think about BlackRock getting in the Bitcoin game. And I've always heard the term, and I've seen it play out, that traditional investors, big money, does not invest until there's blood on the streets, even if it's their own blood.
Mm-hmm.
So the combination of all the above setting something like Aladdin into the crypto markets and what it could do to the price of Bitcoin outside of technicals, outside of fundamentals, to make it easier for the clients that BlackRock is serving, that the Aladdin is serving.
Yeah, you
It's
know what?
terrifying.
And you know what else? That's crazy because once you start to recognize that so much of the volume that's being traded is now bots, is AI. You're trying to trade against something that is able to analyze data at the speed of light, right? Just
Constantly,
absolutely
constantly.
constantly. You're looking at data points as a person, as a human.
Getting tired, your eyes are bothering you, then the emotions
Yes.
come into play and you start questioning
Yep.
the FUD, the FOMO, and this
Yep.
robot's just like, I got this. I got
Got you.
this.
I got you.
It's
Yeah.
scary
And
as hell to think about, man.
well, and it's wild because they're able to, as these learn, they're able to take, not just the charts, right? But they're analyzing news data coming in, news, and assigning like points
Well,
values to whether something is positive, negative, everything in between, and then it's coming up with basically a conclusion of
so
what would a human do here. And I think
I
it's
think that
scary.
the Aladdin bot has got, or the Aladdin itself has gotten access to more like big data. And I'm going to do more of a deeper dive into this, but you combine everything that I've mentioned, like where your suggestions on social media, your suggestions when you're watching YouTube or whatever the situation might be, what ads are being put up. If you have Hulu without ads, or whatever the situation might be, it's all this data being collected. And then when you add in the financial element to it, it takes things to a completely different level, because
Yeah.
now it's as if the AI can get a better understanding, a logical way of looking at human emotion, where human emotion eventually will not matter, and
Yeah.
I don't want to see a world where everything is traded between bots, where governments have robots fighting instead of, not that I want to see humans fight, but I don't want to see any fighting, but I don't want to see a bunch of electronic things acting in place of things that we should be doing ourselves.
Yeah. And that's that for me, that's what it comes down to. We started off the conversation, me talking about, hey, I want to make my own reservation over the phone. I want to talk to a human. I want to interact with humans. But more and more and more, we're getting to this point where humans are inefficient, humans make mistakes, humans don't show up for work, humans need paid an hourly wage, humans, where I could just pay for a program to do what the human is otherwise doing. And the thing that I think is frustrating for me is that they know that at the point where it is right now, the AI is still very frustrating. That's what I hate, is that they're not making a decision based on how the conversation, at least for right now, from what I've seen, they're not making a decision on what to do based on how this conversation is flowing and going. And I think it will be able to move towards that. But right now, it's still frustrating where you're trying to tell it to do one thing and it's only giving you a certain set of options. And if you try to give it some other option, it's like, well, is this what you said? I think it gets really frustrating really quickly. So I'd rather just talk to somebody. But I am concerned that as we continue to press further and further into the future, that mine's the repercussions of filling all of these jobs or whatever it may be with AI, filling all of these decisions that would normally be made by a human, that has emotions, that has love, that has hate, that has anger, that has all of these things that can be good if used in a positive way, with something that doesn't.
Well, you mentioned something that I think is really important. Okay, so when we think about history being lost, it's when certain generations die out. I feel as if our generation, Generation X, is kind of the last analog generation,
Yeah, I can see
where we
that.
write
Yeah.
things down. I
Hmm.
used to be able to remember phone numbers. I'm starting to get
Hmm.
out of that habit because of smartphones now and
Hmm.
those situations. But I like to do a lot of things hand on. I take notes. I like to make phone calls. Those kind of things where you're dealing with things very hands on. Whereas the generations below us, and I'm not saying every individual fits in this category, but just stereotypically, I call them children of the box. And
Yeah.
the more that we die out and we fade away, and the more that they advance, I feel as if that's the direction we're going to take. you know, where people would rather, because I mean, we're seeing it already in a sense with like the disconnect with families. You go to a restaurant, a family restaurant, and you watch other families at their table eating. That's exactly what you're going to see. And they may even be texting or communicating to each other using these little devices when they're right in front of one another.
Yeah,
so
right. We're sitting right in front of each other. Like,
yeah, it's strange to think about. And then, you know, just to kind of circle it back around, AI is designed to keep us attached to these things. You know, it knows how to manipulate human emotion. And if you've watched any kind of documentaries on how social media companies are able to do that, if you haven't, you should watch them. I can't really call anything off the top of my head, but
well, I mean,
it's dangerous.
TikTok,
the father of virtual reality, Jared, I forget his last name, Lanier. He doesn't even use social media. He spoke at Bitcoin 22. I saw him, got a picture with him. I wanted to interview him. I was like, how do I get in touch with you? He doesn't, he had an analog phone, a flip phone, and he doesn't use social media. And this is the guy who's one of the creators of virtual reality.
Yeah, and that should probably tell you something. Crypto 420 says, yo, new to the channel. Love it. Keep it up, guys. Hey, we appreciate you, Crypto 420. Glad that you're here. Make sure you get involved in Danger Close Alpha. Jump in there. Then also make sure to follow RiceTVx. Yeah, you know, TikTok, I got to kind of wrap it up here.
I know you got to get ready to go.
TikTok is one of the things where AI has played a huge role. It is literally analyzing and using algorithms for everything that's to push towards you to keep you in front of that phone as long as possible. And you're getting little dopamine hits from it. You know what I mean? Like that is logistically and literally what is happening to your brain.
Just feeding so it's like, the AI.
Yes, you are, and
it's a Chinese company,
and like that.
And I have to say that, you know, I hate saying it, but I have no problem with the Chinese people, but I do have a problem with the Chinese government, and it's a Chinese company, and I know the government ultimately controls the companies.
Yeah, it is. So the moral of the story, ladies and gents, is be careful out there. This AI is evolving. It's changing. We don't know. You know, there's movies out there like iRobot that, I mean, if you watch it, it seems like such a far-fetched idea, but is it? And so I really just wonder, how close are we to a situation that could be really bad and we just don't even know it? A lot of times things happen and you look back, you're like, well, that was dumb. Why would they have done that? Well, it was on the leading edge of technology. They didn't truly understand what the repercussions were going to be. And I think that that's something that we need to be paying attention to as it relates to AI. So Crypto Fam, we love you guys. You could be anywhere on a Wednesday night, but you're here. Make sure to jump in the Discord. Make sure you follow Rice. Make sure you take just a second, X out of the live chat, smash the like. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. If nobody's told you before today, well, I just told you for like the third time. So just remember, question everything, trust nothing. Until next time, Otto, like it's hot. We will see you soon.
Much love.